Hello, it's Dion here, author of the blog Words from a Black Woman, and today is my first in conversation with, and I am so. I interviewed Mark Ashley Dupe. Mark is a presenter, a DJ, and a club promoter on London's busy scene, and Mark also unapologetically black and gay. And I am all here for it. What we spoke about today was Mark's journey coming out as a black, understand that there are some taboos around this, and Mark provided great insight on his experience and also provided some really advice for other black men in his position who want to feel confident and lose the fear when it comes to coming out as who they are. So yeah, enjoy the conversation and introducing Mark. Anyway, so hello. It's Dion, as I just introduced. Mark. Mark is a DJ and a presenter and a club promoter on London scene. And today, as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about Mark's path to where he is right now. We're going to be talking about some of the challenges that he's faced and may continue to face, and also offering that key advice for people who want to follow in his footsteps, to offer more knowledge about how they can go in with their eyes wide open, just so we can see progress at the forefront. So again, Mark, thank you so much for agreeing to spare your very, very valuable time to speak to me. And
Anytime.
how are you?
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Obviously, lockdown's been a madness. It's changed. Oh, have I disappeared?
No, you're right there.
Oh, where have you gone? Where have you gone?
Oh, it's fine. I can see you. You've seen this mug anyway for many years.
You just disappeared somewhere. Yeah. Obviously, lockdown's been challenging just because I don't think nobody was expecting this to happen this year,
Yeah.
and I did have quite a lot of stuff like set up that I was looking forward to doing, like career-wise, work-wise. So
Yeah.
that's the spanner in the works. But apart from that, I kind of like feel like I've been doing this for like 10 years now. So
Yeah.
it was almost nice to have some downtime. Like
Yeah.
my Friday nights, Saturday nights, I'm usually in the nightclub. Like, do you get what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's nice to wake up on Saturday mornings now or Sunday mornings and I'm fresh and I've just got like a new outlook and perspective on what I've been doing.
Yeah, and
And
because
then I've been like,
because you play at festivals as well. Because obviously I'm a regular at Lovebox, and I
yeah.
always remember seeing your name. So how has it been? Like, obviously it's downtime, but those major events that you obviously built your
Those,
profile up.
those are the type of events where like you make like blocks of money in certain periods of time. So like festival period is where you'll make like a lot of money, and that might maybe take you through for like the next 6 months.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it's been challenging for my bank balance basically.
Good for your
Like,
mental, bad for your bank balance. Yeah, no, I
yeah,
get it.
and,
I get it.
so it's like swings and roundabouts. Like part of it, I'm like, oh, this is really annoying. Luckily, a lot of the people that booked me for festivals and events this year have carried it on, so that next year
Oh,
it's
perfect.
fun. That's all right. It's just about getting through this year. But to be honest, this year seems like it's flying by.
It
It's
is.
going
It
quite
is.
quickly. I can't believe that we're already nearly basically in August.
Absolutely. And you know what? I remember when lockdown first started, I was laughing at the March and April babies. Like, oh, you're going to have a birthday in lockdown. And then literally by July, I'm like, yeah, there's definitely a few people who are going to get me back for that. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't even feel like we've experienced 2020. But it's incredible the changes that have happened in this year. So the time's going really fast. But if you look back at everything that's happened, you don't expect this amount of progress to happen in such a concentrated amount of time. It's usually. So I think, like you said, having that downtime, I think people are now giving themselves the time and the space to actually, process things and take action, because there's just less distractions.
Well, I feel like, for instance, like the Black Lives Matter marches and stuff, I feel like it happened at, even though it was bad what happened to George Floyd, it
Yeah,
happened at the right time because everybody was at home and was then able to then be a part of the movement. Whereas
absolutely.
maybe if it was like just a normal working week, would people have been have had the time to go and march and had the passion
Absolutely.
to go and do what they're doing. So like it's worked in favour for some things, and in other ways it hasn't worked for other aspects.
Yeah.
But there's been so much change, and I feel like the one thing that it's really shown me is how the communities come together. All different types of community have come together to help one another out. Like especially like on my road, like we've got like a little WhatsApp group going. So like the elderly, like if anybody needs anything, we'll go and get them food, drink, milk, whatever it is that they need. People exchanging stuff, and I feel like money's become less of a thing. It's more about like, what can I offer you, and then you can do something for me. And I feel like it's just showing people how the road can still work without it being the structure that it was in necessarily before.
Absolutely. And I think for me, I've just found that I feel closer. I feel closer to people who I thought I couldn't get closer to. So there's just different. This year has just shown a completely different level of community, of love, of just everything. So it's been quite emotional at times, but I feel as though this year, what I would call like a long-term investment, I think what's happened has been significantly quite bad, but the changes that will happen as a result, hopefully, is a long-term investment. So so you are an unapologetically Black gay man, and I love it. You know I do, absolutely. Even though back in school you used to fancy me, I'm still going to take that win. Yeah, I don't care whether you're gay. Yeah, I'm taking that win. Yeah, because you were someone who made me feel fantastic about myself. So, but I know that as a Black gay man, there is a taboo. So how did the pressure of being Black affect you when you were going to come out?
I just think growing up as a Black kid who didn't even at first even know what gay was, I knew I was different, and I had like my mum's ex-husband always used to be like, "Shut up, you little batty boy," and make these comments to me, and I knew that this batty boy was like a bad word, but I didn't really know what the association was with it until I started Bacon's, and that's when I started to realise that like the girls are cute, but I fancied the boys, and it was this whole struggle of coming to terms with it, because in my mind up until then, only white men fancied other white men. Like it wasn't a black. There was no representation in media, television, even within your own family, of anybody who was gay. So I thought I'd been cursed with this like this white devil's disease or whatever it was. And I remember I used to like pray. I'm not even religious, but I used to pray like I'll do anything not to be this. And this was quite young, like 11 or 12. But by like 14, 15, I feel like it was quite obvious to me that like it wasn't going anywhere. And I then started to tell like a few friends about it. But I feel like a lot of people at school knew that I was gay before I was gay.
I knew you were gay.
That was my name, Big Gay Mark, or Big Black Gay Mark. I used to be like, I'm not gay.
The thing is, I honestly believe that you didn't know.
Yeah, like I didn't know, but I did.
But you knew that you obviously, well, this is me guessing, that you knew that potentially that obviously you had an attraction to boys. But you know, for me, like you convinced me that you liked girls. I was like, no, you like boys, Mark.
Dating girls. I was doing.
And you knew good-looking girls, and that's also a bit that was like, you know. And I'm not saying me, but you know, just generally, you wasn't someone who, you know, I didn't think was just lying. You obviously you had this internal battle, but you were happy as well, though.
Huh?
You were happy. You were actually like, you were always the life of the party, the soul of the party. And there was just that real warm thing about you. So whenever the time you decided to come out, it was so amazing to see you still being you.
Yeah, like by the time I came out, do you remember Miss White?
Yes, I do remember.
So I think there was somebody maybe in your year that I'd gone to heaven that summer and they'd seen me, and then they came back and told Miss White, and then Miss White was handing out our new English books, and she was like, "So, who got out and about this summer?" I was like, she looked at me, and I was like, she knows. I was like, everybody, I'm gay, blah blah blah. Like I don't know, I just blurted it out in the middle of English class, and then from then I just kind of went around the school, like telling people, because I was just like, I'm not gonna have other people chatting my business. I'd rather me be the one to get it out there, and then pretty much everybody was fine about it. But I think everybody was fine about it because they, like I said, knew before I knew. A lot of people were like, "Oh, you realise now, do you?" A couple of people were like, kind of like what you said, like, we're like, what? But like my friend Mitzi was convinced that I was just feminine, not gay. So she was like, I've been fighting people, telling them that you're not gay for you to be now turn around. But I suppose that was like the extent of it with at school.
But in the community, so how did the coming out and being gay actually pan out in your day-to-day experiences?
What, so like at home or like with my
at
family?
home, you know, when you left school, and obviously I don't know whether you started working, but just generally.
When I left, I think once I was out, I kind of was very confident in it. Like it was obvious that once I came out, I felt comfortable and natural in my skin, and then so that nobody at school really gave me any trouble about it. My actual boys kind of went around telling everybody, like, if you've got a problem with Mark being gay, then you've got a problem with us. Like, do you know what I mean? So I always had that back in, and I felt really like blessed with that. Then from secondary school, I went to sixth form at Bacon's. So I was still pretty much in the same environment that I'd grown up around. So I still felt comfortable to be me. And then I suppose it was dealing with how I was going to tackle it at home. And
so did you come out at school before home?
Yeah, I came out of school before home. But not that long. I maybe only like a few months. I think my aunt already knew. Because I'd spoken to one of her like gay friends about it at a party once, and then they went back and told her, and then she approached me and was kind of like, "This is what Ross and," I can't remember the other guy's name was, like, "This is what Ross and blah blah said." So like, she's like, "You know, it's fine. Like, you can talk to me about anything." And then she proper like nurtured me through it for a couple of years before I ended up telling my mum. And then I came home one day. I just turned 16 and it was Christmas Eve, and she was cutting up presents. And I'd been out with the guy that I was dating that day, and he bought me like a nice jacket. And she was like, "Where did you get that jacket from?" And I was like, I saved my birthday money to go and buy it. She's like, "Really? That looks expensive." And she's like, "You're always with this boy." She's like, "Why?" She's like, "Where's your girlfriend? Why have you not got a girlfriend?" And I was like, "The question is, Mum, why do I not have a boyfriend?" Like, all brazen, you know? And she was like, "What?" And I remember she was like halfway through cutting up the Christmas paper, and she just stopped. And she was like, "Run that by me again." And then from then, we had like a 3-4 hour conversation. She blamed herself. She was blaming, maybe she didn't go to church enough. What is this one gonna say? What that one gonna say? And I was just kind of like, listen, I was like, this is my issue, and I've dealt with it, and all my friends have dealt with it. So basically, like, you just either need to jump on board or not. But I'm not gonna have you kind of making it about yourself, kind of. And she was like, "You can't have that attitude with me." And I was like, "Of course I can have this attitude with me, because it's me. It's about me, not about you." And she's like, "Well, I'm gonna call your father and tell your dad." And I was like, "You don't even like this man." So, I was like, "You don't normally call him up for anything, so why are you gonna call him up now?" I was kind of like, not threatened her, but I was like, "If you don't let me handle this in my own way and take it out of my hands and go and deal with it yourself," I was like, "there's going to be an issue between me and you." So I feel like it's just best that you just basically like keep quiet about it. And she did, and she kept so quiet about it, she didn't mention it again. for
Okay.
about maybe like another like 6-7 months, when I then broke up with my like first boyfriend, and I was just like in floods of tears. And then she was like, "Is something you want to tell me?" And it was back in the day when like she must have been listening to my conversation on the house phone to my friends. She heard that I'd like broken up with my boyfriend, and then from then on, she kind of became my confidant.
Yeah.
And from 16, I'm 32 now. 16 years later, like my mum's so like, well, she's cool. Like I
Yeah.
talked about all my issues, but I think it was about me putting pressure on her and showing her that like me bringing a boy home was no different if I'd brought a girl home.
Yeah.
And she was, because that was part of the conversation that we had that evening. Like, she's like, "Well, you're not going to be bringing none of these boys back to my house." And I was like, "Well, if it was a girl, would you have a problem with it?" And she's like, "No, of course I wouldn't." So I was like, "Well, why are you going to treat me any
Mm.
differently? Like, I'm still the same person. I just don't like girls. Like, do you know
Yeah.
what I mean?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And then with the rest of the family, like I said, one of my aunts already knew. Then I think my mum told like my other aunt, who came and said to me that everything was fine. She's like, "Oh, I heard that you're gay, and as long as you're happy, like I love you." And then she told my dad, and then my dad called like an emergency family meeting. Like, and my dad's Nigerian, my mum's Jamaican,
Yeah.
so I've grown up with my Jamaican side. But yeah, he called an emergency meeting with the Nigerian side, and then
What
apparently
about you being gay?
about me being gay. Um, apparently they've all arrived, because I wasn't invited to this meeting, by the way,
Okay.
even though it was me that it was about. And he sat them all down, was like, basically, Mark's gay. And then from what my sisters told me, my sister was basically, everybody was like, "Oh, we thought that you were going to be like, Mark's on drugs." And I was like, "Do you know what I mean?"
Exactly,
Not
like an
like
emergency.
an emergency. They were like, "Oh," they're like, "Well, we could have told you this most probably from he was born." Like, what he was. So nobody was surprised. So apparently, because they were all cool with it, he was all cool with it. So
Yeah.
yet again, I've been really blessed and really lucky
Yeah.
to, in both my friendships and my personal family life, to have just been accepted pretty much with open arms. Like, I know that for a lot of black gay guys, especially who are like either Jamaican or Nigerian, like they end up either going through some type of like conversion therapy or get taken to church, and they've
Mm.
got people trying to like curse the demons out of them. I've heard of people getting sent back to Nigeria, Jamaica, or just getting thrown out and going
Mm.
into like hostels and having to like fend for themselves from like age 14, 15.
That's crazy.
And yeah, like, and it's an experience that like is very common for young black gay men, but it just isn't my story. But
Yeah.
I do like to highlight the fact that my story is rare.
Yeah.
That
But
I'm
one thing
special.
I noticed, and again, I don't know, I can imagine that it would be very hard, but I feel that you are such a positive person. And I think that because you were so confident in who you were, it was easier to basically say, take me for what I am,
Yeah,
or don't take me at all. Whereas I feel like with maybe some other black gay men, there may be that internal battle similar to what you mentioned before in school, whether is this a curse on me, um that they don't have that confidence to be overtly confident with who they obviously potentially were born like. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? You look
I
at,
just
there's just so many examples where people don't understand that they have no control over some of these things, and I think trying to control it is maybe where some of the internal battles come
yeah.
from.
Oh, 100%. And that comes from, yet again, it's taught behavior. You're taught that like heterosexuality is the norm, and
Hmm.
that's the right way. And really and truly, there is no right or wrong. We live on a planet that spins in the middle of space. Like, do you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all of this is crazy. So then to then be saying what's normal, what's not, I think with me, like, my personality has always kind of been like, I've always been really inquisitive. I've always been nosy. I've always kind of done what I wanted to do. And that boiled down even into my sexuality, even though I knew that it was going to cause a ruckus, or it could have caused like major issues within my family personal life. I feel like I don't know how to be anything other than what I am. So could never have been in the closet. Like, do you know what I mean? You know that, like, anyone who knew me in school could just tell that I was loud and flamboyant and this, and my arms are here, and I was always just being me. And I don't think that I could have concealed that at any point. So people were telling me, and like I said, people were telling me that, like, bruv, you're gay, like, before I knew what gay meant. So I think based on that is the reason why it was so easy for me to be confident and to have been. I was like, my mum was always like, well, everyone was like you're old before your time. Like, growing up, like, I was very like an adult even when I was a little kid. So I feel like me owning that. What am I saying? Like, I would have always have chosen to have. I would have happily have lost my family and my friends if it meant that I got to be authentic,
live your life,
live my life. And I feel like me saying that to my mum, I feel like that made her really think, when I was kind of like, this is my problem, not yours, and I've dealt with it. So you either need to jump on board or I'll be gone. It's not a thing where I'm gonna even consider for a second pandering to your idea of what I should be to make you happy.
Exactly.
And
I find that fear is a barrier in all walks of life, and I think that you were fearless in your in your coming out and your acceptance of yourself. So I would definitely advocate people kind of breaking through that barrier of fear to kind of potentially get the best out of their life. And you're talking from jobs to sexuality to just anything. It's fear is unhealthy, and that's why you have a lot of male suicide, because it's difficult
within the black community.
Within the black community as well.
I feel like the fear of sometimes is worse than the reality of. Do you get what I mean? So
Absolutely.
you build up these monsters or these ideas in your head of what's going to happen if I say this or do that, and that is actually what holds you down more than actually just owning it and just doing whatever it is that you need to face or conquer. But the black community have a way of instilling, like, obviously homophobia is really huge within the Afro and Caribbean communities, and I blame religion 100%, and the colonization of, like, the West Indies and certain parts of Africa, where they brought these Western concepts of, like, the Bible and thou shalt not do this and thou shalt not that, and they broke this religion into black people. Now black people are some of the most God-fearing people on the planet, but they don't realize that a lot of these ideas that we've taken on, they don't belong to us and they're not true to us, and it's created a version of the black man that isn't necessarily true to the black man in his natural habitat. Like, do you get what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of evidence that they found pre-slavery that being gay was part of African society. So it's not a new concept. What is new is that it's become a taboo, because, like you say, there's been a lot of a lot of tales definitely delivered via some religions that have said that men can't be with men and women can't be with women. And I think having that knowledge and understanding, actually, it's all about love, and it's all about feeling. That's what drives relationships, and what a relationship might look like is not what you can be told, it's what you can, it's what you are.
What you are,
It's what you are. Nothing can be put in a box, because and if it isn't put in a box, I'm all for breaking that box down, because why not?
I think the Black community need to be more open and more accepting and more understanding of just the wider world and the way that things operate. And I feel like a lot of the issues that we have are lead back to like almost like slave mentality, where like certain things were like beaten into us and to break us down, to get us to be compliant. And once all of that got abolished and moved on, we've still sometimes held on to that like master's rule. Yeah, like, do you get what I mean? And it's about unlearning all these old like like slave masters ideals and ideologies, like, and let that go and reconnecting with like our own core and our own truths and our own natural religions and stuff like that. And I feel like we'll find that we'll be a lot better community and group of people once we let go of all of that trauma.
Yeah, well, I've seen that obviously there's been a massive push for the LGBT plus community supporting, you know, we've got Pride Month, we've got all these amazing things. But like you say, I haven't myself seen anything specifically targeting Black gay people. What more do you think can be done in actuality to see those changes take place?
What do you mean like you haven't seen anything? Like, you don't see
So
anybody...
obviously, you know, when we talk about diversity, everything's kind of put under one banner. One banner. So for me, what I found, again, one of the reasons why I also want to talk to you is I think there's an extra layer of marginalization when it comes to this Black Lives Matter movement. When you're looking at, so for example, if you're a Black trans woman, you have, I would say, additional issues to a Black woman, because there are, you know, you're having to deal with the fact that you're transitioning and you need acceptance for that. You've got to deal with the fact that you're Black and you have to break through some of these systemic barriers that have been created. But I haven't seen something specific in regards to talking about this more, or offering additional support. So as a society, we've all decided that Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
But where are we talking about Black trans lives matter? And I would really love, you know, anyone who's watching this, if there's anything that you've seen that you can direct people to, just so they don't feel as though they've been lost in a conversation.
Well, I'd say once the Black Lives Matter marches started, it became quite evident quite quickly that it was apparent that Black heterosexual lives matter, but the rest of the queer umbrella wasn't really getting any acknowledgement, even though if you went to any of the marches, it was queer, like it was Black lesbians, Black trans women that were making up the most amount of noise, that were leading the marches, and it's always that case. So it then kind of splintered, and then it became from, there was like, you had Black Lives Matter going on, but then you also had like Black trans lives matter. And there were like separate marches throughout London that was going on and around the world for Black trans women. And it's now given them a voice and a platform that lets the world know that they are here and they matter as much as their heterosexual counterparts. I just feel like a Black trans woman's journey is always going to be so difficult, because Black women are still striving to get their voices heard. So to be a Black trans woman, you're below that even still, you know what I mean? And it's just about, yet again, Black men, Black heterosexual men, realizing that like, everybody's fighting for them, so you need to come with that same energy and fight for us. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, when I go and march, I'm not marching just for Black trans lives, I'm marching for all Black lives. Like, do you get what I mean? Whereas I feel like a lot of Black guys they march for themselves, or they march for what only they identify with. And it's like, they've got to realize that like, we're all part of this same journey. Like, when the oppressors see us, they're not gonna see him and think that he's any different to me or the Black trans women. They're just going to see Black skin. Like, do you get what I mean? And it's time for I feel like Black heterosexual men need to step up to the table and show unity, show love, show acceptance and understanding, because black women are always fighting for black men. Like, do you get what I mean? So share that, and share that for your trans sisters too, because their battle was so difficult. The rate of suicide or murder in the black trans community is like devastating.
Yeah, no,
Devastating.
I completely agree with you. And
I
it's
said
really
to the
interesting.
white gay community too. Like, the only reason we have pride is because of people like Marsha P, who were the ones that were threw the first stone and the first rock at the first ever Pride, which was a riot. So during the whole like Black Lives Matter marches, there was a lot of like chatter amongst the white gays of like, you know, there must be another way. There doesn't need to be violence. There doesn't need to be all this aggression. And it was like, the only reason you get year after year to have this festival that you now have is because black trans women and lesbians were fighting for it 30 odd years ago. Like, do you get what I mean? And it's like, know your history, know why you have the freedom and ability to be a free gay man now in 2020, because 30, 40 odd years ago, it wasn't the case. And it was these same black trans women that were fighting for you to have that. So I feel like everybody just needs to be educated a bit more, but then maybe that leads back into school and like education system and
Absolutely.
yeah, and like
I
the
agree.
education system stop giving us like this blanket bullshit education that doesn't really teach anybody anything. Like, give us true history, true facts, and educate people so that they can then go out into the world and actually deal with the world that's out there, instead of this like illusion of whatever it is that they're trying to set us up for.
I know. I mean, I've never used Pythagoras outside of mathematics.
Do you know what I mean?
Wasted my time.
Like, teach us our rights, teach us the law.
Yeah.
I definitely
Money
feel that
management.
money management,
You know, so many
but
things.
teach like how to respect other people's. Like, they teach you a bit in RE, but like respecting other religions and other beliefs and other sexualities, I think, are just the core three things that would make everybody a better humans and better in. Like, the world's a crazy place world out there, and you're always going to be encountering different types of people. So it's better that you teach kids that from a young age, so that they don't reach 18 and go out into the world and realize that not everybody is the same as what they were in class. Because in class, everyone's in a school uniform and you're kind of taught to be these little robots, and I just don't think that's the reality of the world.
Yeah, definitely. But yes, so that was all really my questions, and I think that it's been really, really useful to hear how you see some of these problems being solved. And what I really found interesting, and I never even thought about, was black men fighting for the LGBT community, because the fact that it's such a big taboo, and we can identify that just because I fight for this particular group doesn't mean that I'm saying that I'm this person or I'm also gay, but understanding that we all have the same issues, and actually some of us have even more issues. And I think that that's a really strong and powerful message. Like I said, there's a lot of things that I on the main platforms such as Black Lives Matter, I don't see enough about the LGBT plus community. And that's why I want to make sure that I push this as much as possible, and I include it in a lot of the messaging that I do on my blog. And yeah, so honestly, thank you so much. And yeah, and I see there's been so much progress, and I think there's just so much more to do. And if we keep the conversation going and we can pull out nuggets like you have said today, I think that that gives us at least the next step of where we can potentially focus, and hope that, you know, when our kids are this age, they're not talking about what we're talking about.
I feel definitely hope that I feel like our kids' generation should hopefully now be coming into a world where there is a lot more love and acceptance. And I just feel like young black gay boys, especially, not even just gay, just young black men, just need to realize that, like, you don't need to fit into society's ideas of what it means to be a black man. Like, what, from the time you're born and your skin is black, you're a black man. Yeah, you don't need to be hypersexualized. You don't need to be macho. You don't need to have to love hip hop and reggae music. Like, do you get what I mean? Like, your blackness, your melanin is enough for you to be black. And from that, like, just like go forth and love yourself and love those around you, and forget all of this pretense and hype and charaderie that is around this idea of the black man, because that is what is most probably our biggest downfall.
Yes.
We're just put into we're given one direction and only one road to go down, and I feel like that cuts off so many different avenues and opportunities for us to flourish as people and as a community. And yeah, that would be
no, honestly, ending on that note it hit the nail right, the hammer right on the nail, because you're right. I find that being pushed down a particular avenue stops you from thriving in a way that you want to potentially naturally. So thank you so much, Mark. And I want to know, when things get back to normal, where you're playing next. So make sure I follow you. Do you want to say your handle so people can find you?
So you can follow me on Instagram at Mark Ashley D, or you can follow my events page at Jungle Kitty Club, which is like a queer POC, Afrobeats and dancehall event.
Amazing. Brilliant.
Rock out. Tops.
Rock out.
So I need to see you as soon as it comes back open. I'll be throwing a big party.
Yeah, yes, please. And we're ready. We are ready. Trust me.
No, the community needs it. The community definitely needs
it. Trust me.
But I've been looking forward to listening back to this. And
yes. As soon I'll make sure it's
I can share it too. Like put it, share it on my socials.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's really important for people to listen to what you have to say, because what you've said today, I think, completely resonates with how we need to take action moving forward, and hopefully we can bring this higher up the Black Lives Matter agenda so that no voices are lost.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, my darling, thank you so much.
I'll speak to you soon.
See you later. Thanks
Bye,
again.
darling.
Bye-bye.